Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Hello everybody and welcome on to iRacing's Formula Renault 3.5 series brought to you by Apex Racing TV. It is round number 7 and we stay in Japan for another week as we head to Twin Motegi for the second half of the championship. First open in 1997. The road course is 4.8 kilometers long and it's an absolutely unique style of track but has similar characteristics to other tracks. We've got myself, Jessica Ball and Chan in the commentary box and Marco on the cameras. This is crunch time now because we've got pretty much 6 more rounds to go until the end of the season. A lot of the drivers need to have good races for the second half.
Yes, we've just passed the midpoint and we are in fact coming to a point where the drivers are now really trying hard to push for their championship standings to get as much points as possible to be at a good position to fight for the championship. And it would appear that we do have a slightly smaller field than previous weeks. We have 16 drivers here on the grid. Of course, we're riding with Paul Ilbrink at this point. And I think this track will also present a set of unique challenges for the drivers here tonight.
Yeah, exactly. We were talking before the stream as well that there were some characteristics which were similar, in particularly China in the Shanghai International Circuit. The turn 6 region up to around about turn 10 and 12 looks quite similar. Back straight turn 13 in China looks exactly similar to turn 10 in Twin Motegi. So this track is very more technical compared to some other tracks, quite similar to obviously Suzuka where we are last week. And what an incredible race we saw last week too, where we saw Robert Talton, last week's race winner, take the race victory. He's not here tonight like he said last week, but he had it was quite a good fight with Herbie now as well, and obviously Paul Ilbrink as well. But there was a few mishaps and incidents which unfortunately broke up the top 3 fight last week, but it was still incredible to see that it wasn't as dominant as previous weeks as well, as we're halfway through qualifying, and it's James Pinsker fastest at the moment by 8/100ths of a second to Paul Ilbrink. And James Pinsker has had a poor show in the last couple of weeks. Most of the incidents were not his fault, and I think most of them were turn 1 incidents which he just either caused him to be out of the race or for him to be a lap or 2 down further away from the rest of the field. But he's looking good right now. Let's see if he can keep this up, Jan.
So we're now with Oliver Kvoka, who has yet to start a lap time, so he is on his out lap. And he is coming upon the SS section of this track that is very much reminiscent to some of the other race tracks that we have seen. And I would expect this to be one of the more prime overtaking spots. So into this right-hander that he comes upon, which will then lead on to 2 straights before subsequently a complex final chicane. So it does look like Paul Ilbrink, who has just set the fastest lap time. He's just completed his qualifying stint, and he has a lap time of 1:34.12, which is very fast and puts him all the way up there. This is Marcos Alarcon, who is provisionally in 7th. He does have a lap time of 1:34.89, and he would have to, I guess, beat. He does in fact set a faster lap time of 1:34.72, and that pushes him up 1 position.
Yep, times are evolving as we speak, as the track starts to get grippier as well. The rubber is going in as well, and that's for Paul Ilbrink as well. He was about 4/100ths slower than James Pinsker, and now he's about 3/10ths quicker than Pinsker and 1/10th quicker than Ilbrink. This section here kind of reminds me of Dunlop Curve in Japan, and also Austria as well. So there's lots of other tracks in the calendar that has similar characteristics as well as China. As I was seeing Philip Sheaf not improving that much. We got more people on the lap as well improving. Ponick has set personal best in the 5th sector, and he's going on to the final sector. Now let's see if he can go higher than 11th position. Currently he stays 11th. He was just very, very slow in the final sector as well. So we'll see what the others can do. And he goes up into 10th fastest right now, which is great to see. Owens goes up into 12th place. He was in the battle last week as well for 10th place. Bertscheim stays in 13th place. Quite a lot of people are in the pits right now, so I think we're just waiting on a final few people to complete their laps, as they only have a minute left on the clock before we get started with the race, which has been more exciting than ever, of course. Even though we only got about 15, 16 drivers here today, I'm sure they're going to give us some great overtakes. No pit stops, don't forget, though. So if they get damaged, then it will definitely cost them this race. But it's our chance for maybe we could see a different race winner tonight, because most of the race winners, apart from James, of course, is not on the racetrack tonight. So could we see a different person take the top step? We'll have to find out very shortly, as we're just about to bring qualifying to a close.
Yeah, I think with our past history of predicting race winners, which I think hasn't always gone to plan, I think let's see how the race pans out on its own later on. This Philip Schiff, who is going on his qualifying lap time as well. He takes the final corner. It seems to be a final corner, and he comes round with a lap time of... I think he doesn't set... Oh, he does set a lap time of 1:35.69. That puts him up to 14th position, and we should have the grid.
That was very, very good indeed. So Paul Ilbrink takes pole position. Who would have thought it? I'm sure a lot of people will be very happy to say that. 1/10 over Fabio Tacamo, the Brazilian, in 2nd position. 3rd place is James Pinsker, looking to have a better race tonight in 3rd. 4th is Edward Samboski, 4/10 slower than P1. 5th place is Pavel Vasilev. 6th is Marcos Alarcon. 7th is Carlos Derecho. 8th place is Tom Redwood. 9th is Christophe Buzzy from France. 10th place is Mark Ponick from Canada. James Brown in 11th. John Owens in 12th position. We got Dennis Bertscheim in 13th. Philip Sheaf in 14th. Tyler Dubois in 15th. And we got Ollie in last place. But the top 40 separated by 1.5 seconds. So it could go either way tonight. And we've got 1 minute to go until the race. And yes, I agree. We should not really predict too much as the drivers can't become complacent, unlike last week. We're looking at the track temperature. Currently is 24 degrees and the air temperature 21 degrees. We're currently racing at 5 o'clock in the evening in Japan. So the temperatures will be a lot cooler compared to during the daytime. So I know in Japan it does get quite hot, but we shall see what happens.
Seems like quite good weather conditions. We'd very much like to have them here. So yeah, certainly an exciting race ahead for us.
Yeah, so Paul Ilbrink is not used to starting on pole position, but he's going to make do with what he's got and try and make sure he stays there as we're about to get the race underway. He's got Fabio Giacomo alongside him as well, and as you can see, he is poised and ready to get going as well. We're about to get racing here at Formula Renault 3.5. The second half of the season is go, go, go. And it's a good start from Fabio, but good start from Paul. Let's see who gets the getaway into turn one. Paul covers off Fabio very, very nicely indeed. Pinska's got a better getaway than last week as well. Looks like it's a lot cleaner as well due to the lower turnout that we have tonight as well, keeping it a little bit more cautious than last week. Very, very technical as they head towards the next section as well. It looks like a few people has lost a bit of ground, but it looks like that they're all very, very close together. Fabio is looking like he's going to try and go in on the inside of Paul Ilbrink. Thinks better of it though, as the train goes bigger and better as they go on the bridge now. And Paul is managing to keep his core at the moment up there in front.
Great start by Paul. He defends his race lead very well, coming under a bit of pressure from Fabio Di Carmo, and as well as James Pinsker, who's been fighting very hard for all of the season, in fact, and it's good to see him up there as well. This is Dennis Furkheim, who is around in the middle, and I think we do have a bit of incidents around the rear end of the field. Ponick seems to have been affected by that quite badly, and a couple of drivers lost their positions. We're now back with Paul Ilbrink, who's managed to form a slight bit of a breakaway of 9/10 of a second ahead of the rest of the field. So this is now quite a gap that he's trying to maintain for himself. As I think as some of the drivers have shared previously, and this is an overtaking move by Carlos Cerezo for 6th position, and some of the drivers have mentioned before, sometimes the drivers do set their cars up assuming that they will be up in front in the lead, and some cars do, some drivers also set it up more for overtaking depending on where exactly that they are going to race in the grid. Cerezo probably thinking of a move in the next few moments. He tried to make the overtaking move into turn 1, didn't quite work out, and he will continue as he defends his position from Marcos Alarcon, his countryman from Iberia.
So I think we're seeing the replay from Christophe Buzzy, the number 14 car as well, I believe, making an overtake. That was a bit of contact there as well, which could have almost ended a lot worse. Luckily, there was not much damage there from the two drivers, as Tom Wedgwood is definitely having a much better start compared to previous weeks. Up into 5th place, but we got Vasilev trying to make a move as well. They're going to go side by side as well. There's 2 cars tucked in there as well that could have a piece of the action as well. Tom Wedgwood pulling off a beautiful gap over Vasilev at the moment. We got Carlos as well, possibly trying to get a move on the inside, and we got Marcos as well on the back seat of this. He's at a prime opportunity to overtake if there's any mistakes as well. We got a spin from Philip Sheave, and I'm trying to see who it was. I think it was Byrne as well behind, which was a bit of a shame. Let's have a look at what happened there between the two drivers. I think it was a similar accident to what we saw. Yeah, I wonder if one of the drivers was trying to make an overtake and it didn't quite work. So he had a bit of a spin. Yeah, I think it was just a spin. He lost it on his own near the gravel trap. Luckily, he didn't get in to the gravel trap as well. So the top 2 is pretty much running away with it just a little bit, but James Pinsker just about catching over to P2, and Eddie as well, about 5/10 behind Pinsker as well. So a lot closer than last week between the top 11, so anything can happen. So we can see more trains, and don't forget they can use the DRS a couple of times this race as well. So I wonder when they're going to choose to use that in its race too. But yeah, it looks like we can set to have a very good midfield battle between the likes of Tom, Vasilev and Carlos, and maybe Marcos as well, as we're trying to see him move once again into the hairpin as well. Someone almost going wide just a little bit there, and They may be playing mind games at this stage. They'll probably be going for moves now. Be a bit quiet for the rest of the race, and it's full of Chief. That goes off again. Another spin for the American driver. Not what we wanted to see at this stage of the race.
Ducamo fights hard in second, defending his position from James Pinsker and Edward Zamborski, who are battling for third position. Of course, Paul Ilbrick has made even more progress in defending his race lead. He's made a 1.8 second advantage ahead of the rest of the field, so I think all is going on quite well now. This is a battle from Edward's perspective, and he is in fact going for a battle for third place. So coming across, this is the right hand. I do believe this does seem to be turn 11. And coming to this final section of the racetrack, of course, one of the trickier parts of the racetrack, you kind of do have to look beyond the apex for that specific complex of corners and a main stretch here. And this is where we now come to kind of a slipstream zone where Edward will try his best to keep as close as possible to the car in front of him.
Yeah, which is easier said than done because the dirty air not very good around this track, as well as Suzuka. Of course, remember we saw near Boone Curve a few people getting tagged as well, and potentially towards the S's as well. We saw a lot of people lose it heading towards turn 1 last week. That was an issue here, but obviously turn 1 a little bit more easier compared to last week. So I think we're going to have not much of an issue and a lot more cooler track temperatures as well as we head into the evening. Then so on lap 4 already of this race, and 2 seconds of the gap to Paul Ilbrick right now. And I think James Pinsker's closing up just a little bit, but I think Eddie, is catching up a little bit more to James Pinsker up front as well. So James could be under pressure more from Eddie in terms of defence instead of attacking, but I'm sure James wants to score as many points as he can because of the deficit that he's got the last few weeks. He's doing a solid job so far, and we're still seeing the midfield battle between Pavel once again leading the way, and Tom Wedgwood too. This is like a trolley train, but instead Tom Wedgwood is leading it, and Marcos is looking like he's going to get the movements to the Dunlop Bridge. Can he stick his line, keeping to the right hand side? You've got to keep it clean heading towards the final few corners. Make sure you do not go too wide on the curb, because otherwise you will be sent into a spin, and this could be some very good racing. And you can see the battle between P1 and 2. You can see Paul Ilbrick just a little bit faster compared to Giacomo, managing to pull away ever so slightly. So I think Paul just has the edge, but as we've seen in lots of other races this season, you can't become complacent when you're leading up front.
Well, at the same time, the top 4, the remaining top 4 drivers in total, they do also have a fair bit of a breakaway, a much larger breakaway in fact from the rest of the field, which is kind of being anchored by Edward Zamborski, who has what appears to be a 4-second lead ahead of, in front of P5. So I think he's also creating a kind of like an atmosphere of a separate battle that's happening up front. So a compact 3-way battle for P2 at this point, with Paul Ilbrick kind of slightly beyond reach at this point. So it might require some time. So do notice that Edward's paint scheme does look kind of nice from this perspective. It is like a metallic British racing green, which always looks nice from various camera angles. This is being led by Fabio Ducarmo, who is keen on closing that gap with Ilbrick. And this is Zamborski, who's gone along the inside of James Pinsker to go for the move for P3, but line advantage kind of dictates that they will go side by side for a bit longer as Zamborski edges out James Pinsker to complete this lap with a position gain, and Pinsker will go on a comeback move. Is he going to be able to think of something as they now enter the slipstream first sector, the slipstream dominant first sector, where Pinsker will now trail behind Zamborski.
We saw these two battling at the first round of the season. Don't forget we were racing at Hockenheim for the first round, which sounds like ages ago now, but it does feel like yesterday to you and I watching at home. And I can't wait. Oh, someone's gone off. It's Tom Wedgwood, who was having a really, really good race for the start of it. Was looking in control the whole way through with this midfield train, and he spun by himself by the looks of it. He lost the car. So let's look at the replay then on what happened with himself. I think maybe early on the power again, which cost him the spin. Oh, no, there was a touch from the car behind as well. And that is damage there for Tom Wedgwood. What a shame. But that is allowing Marcos to be back in this fight then as well. Oh, look at this. A huge dive on the replay of what just happened. And there's another spin as well, and there's contact. I forgot there was a replay there. I thought we were actually live, but we're not. And there was 2 other cars that got involved. Pavel there as well. So unfortunately, the train that we've been hyping for this race so far has unfortunately come to an end, sadly. So we'll look at the replay to see what happened to him. Again, he was caught up in quite a few incidents today. He locked up a bit heading into the 50-meter board, and he ended up in the gravel. And that is, I think, pretty much his race almost over. But we still got a battle, a train still, and Tom Wedgwood is still in the train. Not the train where you want to be, but at least he's going to make the most of it. But no, he's not. He's going to dive it into the pit lane for his for a stop, because he's got damage. No pit stop, so he's going to lose a chunk of time there. But what could have been for Tom, unfortunately?
It seemed like quite a tricky pit entry there. It didn't seem exactly visible, so that's him in the pits. Of course, drivers do not have to pit for this race, so that is going to be a slight disadvantage that will be for that driver. This is Mark Pornick, who's in 10th position. Here's where he started from, and that was him defending his position. And we're now back with Paul Ilbrink, who's further increased his lead to approximately 2.5 seconds. So, because he's continuing to punch forward at this point, as he does try to build as much distance as possible, a greater margin as possible from the guys behind. So, having a look at his lap times, he's just set a best lap time of 1:35.45, which is the fastest throughout, and I think that is a good indication of his pace.
Yeah, let's hope he can keep it up there in front, because first you have to finish first, you first have to finish, and he's doing a great job so far as well. And Fabio could be in the mix, as well as the battle for P2 gets even closer and closer. And there's also a battle for P12 as well between Buzzi and Philip Sheep. It looks like he's still in this race. Everybody that started the race is still in this race, which is good news so far. Eddie Sambrowski up front in P3 has set the fastest lap of the race, so he is catching ever so slightly to Fabio as well, and he's increased the gap to James Pinsker in 4th place. But I wonder if James Pinsker has saved a little bit up his sleeve towards the end of the race. We'll have to find out as Buzzi and Sheep make their way towards turn 1 in possession at the moment. There's not going to be many overtaking opportunities, I would say, towards the middle half of this race, because they're starting to get to the ribbon. We've seen in many races so far this season that the battles mainly come towards the end of this race, but they're probably going to prove us one. In particular, this leading battle from P2 downwards all the way up into P4. Everyone else is just in this midfield train from P5 downwards, so these are the best of the best right now for the likes of Fabio, Eddie and Pinsker. I think Paul must be loving life right now. Paul would probably like these three to keep battling as the gap just gets much bigger. The gap's now 3 seconds from Paul to Fabio. So Fabio, he's got a lot of work still on his hands, but he's used to it by now as well. And if he can get a good result tonight, I'm sure he'll be very pleased with that.
Yeah, great performance by Fabio so far. He's still holding off pressure from the rest of the field. So of course Edwards made a position gain earlier on, and he might be on for more. And we'll see how this goes over the next few laps. And we're now riding on the gearbox camera of Fabio Ducampo, so you can kind of see a slight bit of a distance between those drivers. So I think it is quite a consistent rhythm that these drivers have adopted at this point, and this should continue along this slipstream section. So we are coming towards, I guess, the first third of the race, and drivers have pretty much settled in. So as you just said earlier, Jessica, I think after a certain point we do see less overtakes, but of course this is still a relatively short race, so drivers are still pushing on quite hard. So more pressure from Sambrowski on Fabio Ducampo, and we might see something happen soon perhaps.
Never say never with on-track battles with these three in the mix as well. And it's good to see James Pinsker battling up near the front again, you know. We missed the the fight that he had with his nearest rivals for the majority of the season. And then with Monza, he got very, very unlucky in turn 1, and then Japan as well. But at least he still kept going in Japan as well. And I think he learned a lot as well from Japan. The first succeed, you do not give up. You learn a lot, even if you're the back as well, because there's sometimes where you're not right near the front, you're right near the back as well, and it's how you deal with it. So that's probably helping him today as he's fighting off Eddie and the likes of Fabio as well. So we'll see as the track temperature is starting to get a bit cooler as we head into the evening now as well. So maybe the chance to warm their tyres just a little bit more as we head towards almost halfway of this race. As Eddie Samborski closing in a little bit. The gap was about 2.8, now it's 2.6 to the leader, and it's now a few tenths behind. I'm interested to see why he's closing up on Fabio Di Carmo in this section, because that's where we see quite a few people go for a spin, but they've cast the bridge anyway, so that's probably why they're doing it. Look at this. Eddie is looking hungry for this. We see people make mistakes here, but Eddie saying there's no room for error, and he executes the move perfectly up into P2. Still primed to be taking the race victory, and I wonder if Jays will use the opportunity to possibly try and get past Fabio as well. We'll see the lap times compared to these two as well to see what would happen, but Eddie, I think, looking much more comfortable right now as well. Let's see what he can do to try and catch up to Paul. It's not impossible, but, you know, we will see what happens. He's got some clear air now. Let's see what Eddie could do with it.
Yeah, I couldn't help but notice that Edward has quite an interesting helmet paint scheme. Does look like one from a crash test dummy. But of course, with him leading that battle pack from P2 and onwards, he might be able to perhaps pull that pack closer towards Paul Ilbring, which might spice things up a little bit. Di Carmo seems to have tried to make an overtaking move on Samborski, which he has done so. So this is them going side by side, and it is going to be Samborski who's kind of retaken his second place, and they continue battling. So yeah, quite intense action going on here, as we do have various different perspectives of this battle. You know, I think there's quite a lot going on in the minds of these guys. I think the one enjoying it quite a lot is James Pinsker, because he is able to be the one exerting pressure on the cars in front of him.
Yeah, and there's also more pressure going on in the background behind these drivers. We've got the likes of Owens and Ollie as well. I have to say, fair play to Ollie, one of the biggest gainers of this race so far. Don't forget, he started near the back of the grid and he's all the way up into 6th. I believe he's gained 10 positions. He started dead last as well. So whatever he's doing, I suggest he should keep going. He's producing some mega lap times. He's almost matching the guys near the front. That's how quick he is right now. He's in the 136s, and hopefully he can catch up to the likes of John Owens as well, and then try and make sure he can catch up at front. Another big gainer, John Owens, he's gained 7 positions. Dennis Verdheim gained 7 positions as well, and Edward Samborski up in front gaining 2. And Philip Shee, despite that spin, he's gained 2 positions, and that is not too bad for him at the moment. Biggest loser though has to be Boozy as well. That is in the pits, and I believe he's out of the race. Tom Redwood down 7, Pavel down 9 after that crash as well, and Carlos down 6 places. As all this battle is really heating up as we head halfway into this race. Right now we're on lap 12 out of 23. Pinsker just biding his time. He's playing the patient game right now. His last lap time 1:35.9 compared to Fabio's 1:36.1. But Eddie is a lot faster compared to the two behind him. So I think Eddie's a lot more comfortable now. And they're just starting to get used to it. But we've seen this last week, didn't we? A battle for the podium. Did not go well, and I just jinxed James Pinsker there. He had a bit of a slide there, a bit of a moment. Traction did not help him there. Let's look at the replay. So was it the dirty air perhaps that costed him? He was closing up to the likes of Fabio Di Carmo, and yeah, that's probably what caused him to have a spin there. No damage though, but he's dropped a little bit further away from the leading bunch. So it looks like he has to settle for P4 of this race so far.
Yeah, an unfortunate incident there for Piska. That's probably kind of ruined his chances, I guess. But I think, of course, when you are in a battle pack, it does help when you're not exactly battling for position, because that does mean that you save time and you actually become a little bit fast, and that helps you with catching up with the cars that are further in front. So this is John Owens, who is leading the battle for 5th position. That's being contested by Oliver Korka and possibly Dennis Furchheim, who is quite a distance behind. So we'll see what Korka might have up his sleeves as they come upon this section. So pace-wise, John Owens is pulling lap times of 1:36.61, which is quite decent, and I think it is kind of on par with the lap times of Korka as well as Furchheim. So these drivers are probably around a similar pace, so we could see this battle going on for the next couple of moments.
Yeah, this could go out longer and longer than we expected as well. And maybe James could be in the mix as well. Yes, he is as well. He is losing so much time to the likes of John Owens and Ollie Kuroka as well then. So maybe he caught up in another spin. Yes, he did get caught in another spin as well. So maybe he was not happy with the setup of the car, I think, is what's happening. The balance is just not right for him, and that's what's losing a lot of time now. What was James's last lap? 1:40.41. Not good at all. So it wasn't just one spin, it was 2 spins as well. So John Owen is taking this opportunity to gain some more place, and he could be up to 4th now as well. Look who's also behind Tyler Dubois as well in 8th position. Haven't talked much about him in this race, but I think he's just finding his own time as well. And usually he gets involved and he picks up where people left off, and if people make mistakes, he gains from it, and that's what we like to see in the number 15 car as well. Scored some decent results, and I think this could be on for his best result of the season if he keeps it up. So he's heading towards the start-finish straight now, and what was his best lap time at the moment? 1:36.654 compared to Dennis Furchheim's 1:36.325. So they're pretty much even on pace. And we have Mark Ponick saying a personal best as well. So times are getting quicker, and they are closing up a little bit as well. So the train, I think, is lasting from P4 potentially down to P7, but maybe Dubois can catch up sooner. We got Marco as well in that train, and Mark Ponick too. So that this could get very, very interesting indeed. James will need to put the hammer down if he wants to stay in 4th position.
So good show by everyone thus far. Oliver Korka still fighting hard in 6th. He is in fact 10 positions up from where he began, from a slight bit of a lockout there. I think he went a little bit deep into that corner, and this does mean that his gap with the driver in front of him is about 9/10 of a second. Furchheim, who is battling with Korka. This is going to be quite an intense one. 5/10 of a second gap between both drivers, so they would probably be approaching some additional overtakes. Oh no! Paul Ilbrink appears to have some connection issues, and he's disappeared from the race at this.
Oh no! Unfortunately, the leader's curse has gone strong here in Formula Renault 3.5. I'm absolutely gutted, heartbreaking for him, and it's not like you can rejoin the session when you disconnect in these races like you can on other sims. Once you're disconnected in these sprint races, which last about 40 minutes or so, you are out. So what a shame. It was looking quite dominant. The race pace was there. The race victory was in his sight. He can taste it. He can feel it. But like we said, you can't afford to become complacent, and he's dropped down into 40th place now. That is so annoying, very annoying, and he's putting a lot of work in this race. He even put the car into pole position, and that means Eddie Sambrowski now is your race leader with Fabio D'Acamo in 2nd place, which means James Pinsker once again could be on course for a podium, and he is heading towards the lap times of the top 2 again, so he is back to normal, and he's pulling away from the train from the likes of John Owens, Ollie Crocker and Dennis Furchheim as well. So at least he was able to get up to speed once again. So John Owens wasn't able to try and get past James Pinsky when he had the opportunity, but it looks like Ollie almost was looking to go for a move there, going down the hill then, heading towards turn 1, and doing some great work from John Owens. Ollie has to settle for P5, and Eddie saying the fastest lap of the race, almost in the 134s. It's a 135.177, absolutely incredible lap from him as he tries to increase the gap now. He definitely has the clear air now that Paul's gone to Fabio De Carmo in second position.
So I guess everyone else had a level up, which I think might play in everyone's favor. Unfortunate for Paul Ilbrink, he was fighting really hard, doing so well, and then I think internet connection issues got the better of his. And this is Quokka. That was Quokka leading his battle pack, but Ilbrink rejoins the race session. Fortunately, that he is able to make it back. And yeah, our broadcast director Marco remarking that Paul Ilbrink might be bashing his steering wheel right now. This is John Owens, who's your new 4th place driver. He leads Oliver Quokka and Dennis Furkai, 5th and 6th. So this is another rather intense battle that is shaping up. So we do have about 7 laps to go in this race. So still plenty of opportunities for things to happen. For if drivers want to make their big moves, they can do so, as long as they push for it. So Furkai sits 0.8 of a second behind Quokka. His previous lap time though was 135.8, which is slightly faster than that of Ollie Quokka and John Owens. So this does kind of put him in a good position to close up his gap.
Yep, it does indeed. So make sure you keep watching this, because the battle's going to get even more tastier. Don't you dare tune out to this session here today. And if you want to catch up more Apex Racing TV action, make sure you click the subscribe button if you haven't already, because I know quite a few of you that are not subscribed. So make sure you turn the red button into a grey button, and also hit that bell icon to be notified when we go live, and also hit that thumbs up button as well. You can also find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/ApexRacingTV, and of course do follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, where you can find out what's happening in our social. All those usernames are just Apex Racing TV. We're watching the battle with John Owens then for 4th position, and Ollie Quokka. Once again, I have to say, I'm not going to mention too much about Ollie right now, because I mentioned a lot about Paul Ilbrink at the start of the broadcast, and look where he is at the moment. So we're heading to this next section, and I think that's where we saw quite a lot of people lose it earlier as well, and I think it's going to get even more trickier as the race goes on and it starts to draw to a close. So these drivers have got to be on their A game as Ollie starts to close in and get a lot better, as well as they have less fuel in the cars now, so of course they're going to be pushing even more to get the positions that they definitely need as well. They can still take the podium, but it's pretty much not possible right now due to the gaps at the moment. But anything can happen in Formula Renault 3.5 as they go down the hill, as there's a few drivers that have been saving fuel at the moment, and there's people like Eddie, for example, did a much slower lap last lap, but he can afford to take it easy, and he's got, oh no, he can't, he's dropped a little bit. Fabio's caught up to him. I was wondering why he had a slower lap. I thought he was slowing down because he can with the gap. So let's watch him approach turn 1 and 2. Oh, not turn 1 and 2, but the Dunlop Bridge. He had a bit of a lock up there, and that's why we got a battle for the race lead. Fabio De Carmo is inside. We could have a interesting fight on our hands. He was looking very fast on lap 15, and Fabio De Carmo was definitely catching up there. 2 seconds loss. Eddie lost to Fabio De Carmo. What a shame there. We just have various unlucky moments with our race leaders at the moment tonight.
Yeah, though fortunately Samboski is still able to hold on to his race lead, although he has quite a lot of pressure that does come in the form of his rear view mirrors. He does have De Carmo kind of much bigger in his rear view mirror at this point, so gap is 0.6 of a second. And looking at the pace that De Carmo does kind of set, he did a 136 flat around there, and I think he does have the pace to kind of make something happen. So across the final chicanes and onto the main straight. This is quite interesting because this main straight is one of a total of 4 straights, or 5 straights if we do count the other one that's close to the hairpin, that drivers can kind of go full throttle. So it is quite an interesting layout for these drivers. Zaborski under a lot of pressure now. We can kind of feel it from up here, and he's going to have to try his best to fend off his race lead.
To say, if he can hold on the race victory after the spin he had, then I have to say that'll be incredible work as well from a race when he has won this season already, and he's looking to add another victory to his name as well to help him in the championship. And sometimes mistakes are human. You make mistakes, and it's how you claw back from it, and that's what Eddie is doing right now. He's starting to increase the gap just a little bit more now. He's showing his talent. Don't forget, Fabio and Zaborski were having a battle early on in the race as well. So there is not unknown territory compared to Eddie right now. But let's just hope he doesn't have any more issues throughout this race, and he's able to go back to similar pace than he was on lap 15, because on lap 15 was where he set his fastest lap. Lap 18 was a 1:35.2. That's insanely quick. But Fabio, I think, wants that race when you can see him in his sights now. You can see it in the same camera shot as well. And I think Fabio's probably expecting nothing less. If he does not get the race win, I'm sure he'll be very disappointed. But he knows he'll be fighting with a talented American already who has driven so well. 1:35.2. They're even. They're about a few 100s separated between the pair of them as well. This is getting very, very exciting. 2 100s actually. I was so close to the maths there, but yeah, these two are amazing, and whoever comes out on top tonight definitely deserves it as well. Pins go on the same pace as our leaders as well, so imagine what it could have been for James if he didn't have that spin. It would have been a three-way fight for the race win, but let's see what Fabio can do. Fabio will probably wait until the last few laps to do it on lap 20, almost on lap 21 in a few moments' time. So can Eddie do this? Can Eddie hold on to that race win, which looked comfortable earlier on, but now he has to work for it.
Oh no, this is a big off by John Owens, who was fighting hard. I think at one point he was battling up there, and he's kind of he's going to lose positions hand over fist. So let's have a look at him. He's just made his way around turn 3, and this is going on a braking zone into 4th. And that was just a bit of a hard lock on his wheels, and locking up, and he's kind of found himself out wide as a result of that. And he's lost a couple of positions. He's currently in 8th, and he's trying to clamp his positions back again. He's currently battling with Marcos Alarcon in 7th, and yeah, that was quite an unfortunate off by John Owens.
Yeah, a bit of a shame. Now, I think a lot of people seem to be making mistakes today as well. Maybe it is down to the cooler temperatures potentially in Twin Motegi. And I'm sure that we're going to probably potentially see something similar, as there's probably going to be cooler temperatures next week as well when we head to the Netherlands. Around Zandvoort is where we are next week. And I'm sure that has much different characteristics, a much shorter lap compared to this one, but I'm sure they would have probably be related to get the technical circuits out of the way first with the likes of Twin Motegi. It's kind of like a Marmite track. Some people like it, some people hate it. There's a lot of Japanese people that like it, obviously, but they're not here tonight. But I'd like to have seen some Japanese drivers on the field tonight, but they probably would have been I don't know what I'm talking about, but yeah, they would have probably loved to race around here as well. So the gap is stable for the race victory at the moment, around 0.6 per second. And I think Fabio, yeah, he's definitely got something saved on his sleeve. He's just not going for the move yet. He's happy to stay behind Eddie Zaborski at the moment. He's closing up by a couple of attempts in the first half of this lap. And we'll see what these drivers can do as we head towards the start-finish straight then. So let's see, Fabio Takamo, can he get the lunge that he's looking for? Eddie covers him off very, very nicely there. He was looking at the mirrors and he saw Fabio behind, and you've got to do that sometimes. If you know the driver's driving skill and driving style, then it's quite easy really to predict where to defend, but sometimes you've got to be a lot smarter than you think.
Yeah, I think the racetrack just said "Omae wa mo shinderu" to everyone, and it kind of reshuffled everyone's positions. So that was kind of part of the outcome of today's race, which was certainly interesting. Carmo still in second, exactly where he started from, and he's continuing to fight hard. I did also notice that Samborski just set the fastest lap time of the race a couple of laps ago. He set a 1:35.08, so kind of beat Paul Ilbrink to it. And racing hard, in fact, at this point, Dustin Carmo continues to put pressure on the race leader. And of course, there is just one lap to go in this race, and of course, Samborski will have to do well to continue defending his race lead.
I can't believe there's one more lap to go of this race. The race just gets quicker and quicker every week, and we really do love commentating on this action every week, and we hope that you're enjoying watching it at the moment. Don't forget, this race has been brought to you by SDK Gaming, as we have a overlay which we're showing at the moment, and you can see your commentary team's cameras, focus drive and overlay with your broadcast. You can also have a 14-day free trial of this as well if you want to have this on your own. But let's watch the battle for the race victory. Fabio could see that the victory is in sight. He's not going to give up without a fight here as he goes down this kink here as we head towards the final lap. Pinsker saying the fastest lap of the race right now, 1:34.7. These two could not afford to make mistakes because it will hand one of the race victories to someone else on a plate. And these two have been driving superbly throughout this whole race, and they've never put a foot wrong. They saw their nearest rivals, Paul Ilbrink, James Pinsker, both having spins, and these two took advantage of it. Tom Wedgwood also had a spin as well. But these two are about to be sharing the podium together as well. But I don't think we're going to get the battle that we would have thought as we head towards the final few moments, as we head towards this back straight. You sometimes get confused with that being a start-finish straight, but it's not. It is the back straight. And Eddie Samborski, he has won many times before in Formula Renault 3.5 this season. And it looks like he's going to add another one to his collection. Going towards the final corner, Eddie wins that tip twin win, Motegi. And Fabio Di Carmo will come across the line in P2. And then we got James Pinsker that will finish the final podium. He's got a comfortable gap behind as well. So yes, that will confirm him to a podium position. He probably would have wanted P2, but I'm sure he'll be happy to get some decent points after last week and the week before Shambles. And he gets the fastest lap to boot as well. And my drive of the day at least, goes to the man who started from P16 and is all the way up into 4th, Ollie Kuroka. Brilliant stuff from him. Also good job from Dennis as well in 5th. Dubois in 6th. Marcos in 7th. Oh, there's a bit of contact there from Sheaf. And Byrne, by the looks of things, dropped down into P13. Last lap drama already in Twin Win Motegi, and this race is just ended with some of these drivers. Let's look what happened. Trinit was looking desperate for the move then. Or did he go too risky? No, he didn't make any contact with anyone. He just lost to himself, and unfortunately, that's dropped him a few positions, but he's still finishing in 13th, sorry. Paul Ilbrink and Buddy has just finished, and we're just waiting for Tom Wedgwood to cross the line as he passes the back straight. So quite an eventful race, I would say, to this broadcast, and it was got some good overtakes again. Quite busy in the beginning, quite quiet in the middle, but there was a few people that got caught around about the similar corners, which cost him a little bit. So Eddie Samborski wins 9/10 over Fabio. I would like to hear their thoughts in the interviews. James Pinsker in 3rd, Ollie Kuroka in 4th, Dennis Fairchild in 5th, Tyler Dubois in 6th, Marcos Aracon in 7th, John Owens in 8th, Mark in 9th position, James Byrne in 10th, Carlos Derecho, he's dropped a few positions. He dropped down to 11th. Pavel in 12th. He was in that midfield battle. Let's see. Hopefully, he can have a better result next week. Philip Sheaf in 13th. Tom Wedgwood in 14th. Paul Ilbig, who started on pole, was very unlucky with that disconnection. But luckily, he was able to finish and see the checker flag. He is a lap down. And we've had one retirement, I believe. Actually, no, but he was 4 laps down to Christoph Buzzi. So, should we get some drivers into some interviews? Because I think we would like to hear some drivers' thoughts on what they thought of the racing, as it would be interesting to see. So we got Fabio actually waiting, and James as well. Hopefully we can get our race winner in there as well. We may as well, since we don't have our race winner, we'll do it in reverse order actually. We'll do third, I think I would say first. Yeah, we'll do third. So James Pinsker, welcome back to the commentary booth. Third a podium position for you, but it could have been so much better. But at least you got some decent points compared to what happened in the last 2 races. Tell me what was going through your mind in this race.
Yeah, wow. Well, yeah, I guess in comparison to some other races I've had, it's been a bit barren for me. I spent a lot of it in clean air, but yeah, I knew this Motegi track. Normally I do well at like tracks like that are raced in F1 or that we race a lot. I definitely get better with having more experience. So going to Motegi, that I've never really driven before, or not driven much, I knew it was going to be a bit of a tough race for me, or a tough pace. And yeah, I think that showed, finishing third distantly. Yeah, Ed did a good overtake on me and good overtake on Fabio. He went on to win the race, but obviously a massive commiseration to Paul, because he was surely going to win his first race in a long time, and then had the game crash, which is just such cruel luck, and I'm really sorry for him. But you know, it's luck of the draw, I guess. Luck goes each different way. So yeah, sad for him, and then that meant that I could be on the podium, which I guess is kind of nice. But yeah, I was kind of running the same pace as Fabio and Ed at the front, and then I just had a couple of spins on the same lap pretty much, and that dropped me like 15 seconds behind, and from there I knew my race was pretty much done. But yeah, I didn't feel like I had much pace, but then as the race went on, and when I was in clean air in the second half, I was getting more and more pace. I think if I didn't spin, I would have had a good shot at beating Fabio for seconds. But yeah, it is what it is, and well, I guess we just move on.
Yeah, and at least we're able to keep composed even with those spins, because I know for me, if I had those spins, I'd probably be very, very annoyed there as well. And you know, you're back in this fight now for a potential championship as well. And do you think you have another maybe P2 or P1 in the cards? Because next week we do head to Zandvoort. Is that a track that you get on very well with?
Yeah, so like Zandvoort, and then the week after that is Kota. So yeah, that's 2 more tracks kind of similar to this, which I'm not going to be that familiar with. So it'll be tough. But I'm looking for the challenge, and yeah, I don't know. I see. Even today, when I was struggling with the track and struggling a bit with the pace, you know, I could have won this race maybe if I just kept it clean. Although Ed and Paul were definitely a little bit quicker today, could have won. So I guess the opportunities are always there. And after crashing out, tragically crashing out in those last 2 races, like particularly Monza, I was really looking forward to dominating Monza. I thought I got a really good setup for that. And then crashing out in turn 1 and turn 4 was just sad. So yeah, I just need to keep chugging along and just seeing what I can get, because it's a very, very competitive group of people, very competitive field up at the front. I'm sure Robert will be back next week, and then obviously fighting for the win as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's definitely going to be more people fighting for the win for sure, and we're looking forward to that. And before we interview P2, any shout-outs you want to give to anybody on stream?
Yeah, well, obviously, I already mentioned it, but obviously a massive commiseration to Paul, because yeah, he was surely going to win this race, and then his game crashed, and that's just really sad. So I can't. If I got something like that, I'd be bloody angry. So, but yeah, I'm sure he's calm and composed about it, so it's fine. And yeah, well, just pretty much see you next week. Cheers.
Thank you very much, James, and best of luck for next week around Zandvoort.
Cheers.
So that was James Pinsker that finished in P3, and like we said, we will be doing P2, which was Fabio Takamo, and we'll pass you over to Chan as he interviews Fabio.
Wonderful. Hi, Fabio. Congratulations on a great race result. Came home second here at Twin Rin Motegi. And, I did notice that, you had a lot of battles with the various drivers up front at some point with Edward especially, and also I do believe James Pinsker at various points. So could you share with us the race from your perspective, given that you were battling very hard with Edward towards the end?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. Yeah, the race was kind of tough at the beginning with James and Eddie right behind me. James had a small mistake, I guess, and Eddie was able to overtake him. And then Eddie had the pace to catch me pretty quickly. So I didn't have much to do regarding that. He overtook me, and then it was kind of just pacing around. When Paul unfortunately had a problem with his simulation and disconnected, and I saw that I was in second. I was still trying to focus to finish in second position, but Eddie had a huge mistake in the last sector in around 10 laps to go, something like that. And then we had that battle. I was trying to keep with him. He had the pace to win, but he kept making a few mistakes that enabled for me to get closer to him. But in the end, he had his mind on the track and was able to do a couple of laps without any mistakes, and opened a good gap, so I wasn't able to catch him. So congratulations to him. Sorry for Paul, not the way I wanted to finish in the podium, but yeah, I'm happy with the results overall.
That's great to hear. So I think at various points in the race, we did also notice that many drivers did kind of have trouble handling this racetrack, especially with a lot of spins and I guess locking up. So did you face any of such challenges throughout the race, and if so, how did you manage them?
Yeah, I think this track generates a lot of load towards braking because we don't have too many high-speed corners. Most of the corners are just hairpins and very high braking corners. So it just generates a lot of temperature in the tires in the front, and that kind moves the balance of the car towards the front, and that's the problem that we were facing. Yeah, I felt that especially in the sectors where we have high-speed S's left and right, and I was just trying to keep consistent and don't push too hard, not to overload the tires. Yeah, but that was a problem that we had to face. I'm just trying to keep the car under control.
Sure. So next week we are going to what would probably be a very different nature of racetrack, that is Zandvoort. So what are your thoughts entering the race next week?
I'm sorry, what track is that?
I think we're going to Zandvoort next week.
I'm not sure about that. I don't think I have practice on that yet. I'll have to have a look at this week.
Sure, no worries. Thank you so much, Fabio. So, great race that you had, and hope to see you again. If not next week, then hopefully later on in the season.
Yeah, sure. Thanks so much, Chan. Thanks everyone.
Wonderful. So that was Fabio Ducarmo, and we will who came home second, and we will definitely have the race winner Edward Sambowski, and he will be with Jessica Ball.
Eddie, congratulations. Welcome back to the commentary box. You're on the podium once again, but this time you did one step better. You took the race victory. We were speaking to Fabio earlier about the technicalities of the track. Were you struggling a little bit there, or did you find the track a lot comfortable to take your race victory today?
First off, I'd like to apologize to Paul, because that's a terrible way to lose a race. I'm not sure I would have caught him. So with that out of the way, track is fantastic. I'm disappointed that more people didn't decide to give it a try. I absolutely love it. It's very technical. It really rewards doing the small details correctly. You definitely do not want to overdrive. And my difficulties today were just from a lack of practice. My vehicle daily driver had some issues. I've been working on it since Monday on and off, and I was thinking I'd have it wrapped up with a couple hours of practice, and that turned into 20 minutes. So I just showed up and gave it all, which it showed in my qualifying effort, because I feel like I should have been in the 33s. But it is what it is, you know?
Yeah, sometimes you don't have time to practice. Sometimes you got to do what you do. What was the approach into the qualifying session, knowing that you haven't had much practice? What did you rely on to make sure that you were able to still qualify at a decent position?
That's just it. I went for a decent lap. I was way too tentative on a lot of the corners. I gave up a lot of time, and then I went for my second lap and I did exactly the opposite. I was way too aggressive. Turn 1 and 2 was perfect. I was up plenty of time, and I got to that left-hander, the first left-hander of the track there, and I just went straight onto the exit curb and touched the grass and lost half a second. I was easily on for the lap I wanted. I just, like I said, lack of practice. I just tried to brake too late and outdid myself, and that was it. Starting fourth, you know?
Yeah, which sometimes in real life racing, sometimes you start fourth, usually win the race. So it's kind of a popular position to start and obviously finish the race like that. You are having a nice battle with Fabio and James throughout the race as well. You've got pretty intense as well. But I think I want to talk about the battle you were having with Fabio as well to take the lead and potentially hold on for the dying moments on the lap as well. And you also were losing a bit of time towards the end, and we thought that you lost the dominant that you had as well. Were you a bit worried at that point, or do you have the situation under control?
I was 100% worried when I slammed the bottom of the car off a bump on that turn, which upset it, and I tried to drive it out, which is why I was on the brakes so late after the corner. It just wasn't going to work, so I knew I had to slam the brakes on, and I thought for sure Fabio was going to pass me, and when the car straightened up off the curb, I just grabbed a handful of throttle, and it was just enough to stay in front of him. I mean, I can't claim anything other than luck and try not to crash the car, and the rest of the race was me pushing absolutely as much as I could. On lap 16, I think, I had a big mistake too, because I was too late on the brakes, and I knew I was going to miss the corner, so I had to overslow the car and downshift into first, and I kept losing time. And like I mentioned, it was just completely of my lack of practice. But in the end, I squeaked out just enough pace to be able to stay ahead.
Yeah, you did very, very well indeed as well. And we head to Zandvoort next week as well. A track that has a good banking as well, but hard to overtake on compared to previous tracks as well. Do you think you're going to put a lot more practice to make sure you have a much better qualifying position, or are you just going to settle for fourth place like you did today and hope that you take the win like you did this week?
Well, you know, I don't know if I should tempt fate with too many times. I love Zandvoort. It's a great track. I really enjoy driving it. Last time we went there, I had a pretty decent result, I think. It was a little while ago. It is very difficult to pass. Your only real passing opportunity without more than likely creating a calamity is in a turn 1. And just the same, it's actually really easy to defend against a pass out of turn 1. So there's going to be a lot of practice. Hopefully I'll be done working on things and I can settle in and get back to my usual routine.
Definitely. And before we wrap up the stream, is there anyone you would like to give a shout out to?
I'd like to thank a few of the series drivers who have donated so far to our broadcast fundraising effort. I'd like to thank the drivers that are voting. They're voicing their opinion through voting on the schedule for next season. I'd like to thank you guys for the quality content, and I will leave it there.
Thank you very much, and massive congratulations on another race victory, and we're looking forward to see you next week at Zandvoort.
Thank you. Looking forward to see you guys as well.
Thank you very much. So that was Edward Zambrowski that won the race at Twin Wing Motegi this week, and we'll be heading to Zandvoort next week, and we are about to wrap up the stream. It was a pretty decent race, a few surprises, but definitely deserving race winner there, and some great battles all up through the field as well, Chan.
Most certainly, and yeah, it was certainly quite disappointing for Paul Ilbrink, internet issues, but I think we've seen a lot of good battles, and the great thing, obviously, with this race was that the battles were not kind of restricted to the top, and there were also a couple of other battle packs that kind of took place around, which made things a lot more interesting, and also made overtaking quite a bit more interesting for all the drivers. But certainly, I think all the drivers fought hard for the positions that they have gotten for this race, and congratulations again to Zambrowski, who's won this round. He's done a great job, and I think it was quite an interesting race after all. Though this track is quite interesting, I think all drivers conquered it well.
Yeah, definitely. And with the fact that Robert Tarleton could be back next week as well, that could be another driver that could be added to the fight as well. We had 2 race wins on the trot as well, so could he add another race win to his name next week? We'll have to find out. We did mention our SDK sponsor earlier, but it is a good opportunity to talk about our other sponsors, Virtual Racing School and Apex Racing Academy, both providing with some data packs, setups and track guides as well, and coaching sessions for both of those. Weekly group coaching sessions for Apex Racing Academy, and one-on-one coaching with Virtual Racing School as well. Lots of other stuff, so make sure you check those 2 sponsors out, as well as subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Twitch, as well as follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. All those usernames are just Apex Racing TV. So we're going to leave you guys to, I'll let you enjoy the rest of your morning stroke afternoon stroke evening. For myself, Jessica Ball and Chan Weihan in the commentary box, and Marco, who's done a beautiful job behind the scenes on the cameras, we will see you next week as we head back to Europe for Zandvoort for round number 8 of the Formula Renault 3.5 Championship. Have a good day, everybody, and goodbye.